Hello and a warm welcome to all the Cricket 360 viewers. I am with Professor Anand Desai live in person in the city of Baroda in Gujarat. Uh, I'm flipping a white ball and I see a downward spiraling staircase behind me. Um, am I getting a sense of the Indian cricket going in a similar direction? We will hear from the professor. But the news obviously is that Australia now holds the Border-Gavaskar trophy after more than a decade that India had the stronghold on the Border-Gavaskar trophy. Warm welcome to Professor Desai.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
After the win in Perth, not much to talk about, I suppose, but injuries to Jasprit Bumrah in the Sydney Test match, a Test match where nobody scored more than 200 runs in an innings. But your quick thoughts on the conclusion of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, the Sydney Test match, and how things transpired uh, between the two teams.
Uh, First of all, I mean, just to put things in perspective, nothing is lost. I think for 10 years we held the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. Not many teams have actually won series in Australia. We won two, right? So at the outset, I want to mention that straight away. That said, I think we had a great opportunity this time. I thought we had the squad to put the Australians under pressure, and we did in the first test. But after that, I think it was just, and it's just not just this particular series, but if you look at all the past times as well, I think Indian batting failure is something that one has to, consistent batting failure, and not able to put, even 300 runs on the board is something that one has to seriously ponder over. That's point number one. Point number two that I want to mention is who else but Bumrah, right? And I think we can talk about statistics clearly revealing all this. So there are serious concerns for sure.
Rohit Sharma
Yeah.
uh, did not play the Sydney Test match. Whatever happened behind the scenes with Ajit Agarkar, the selection committee, we are obviously not privy to that. But a decision was made that Rohit Sharma would leave himself out of Test match. And your thoughts on Rohit Sharma's lack of performance, not only as a captain perhaps, but as a player, where there was discussion about not opening the batting, not being in the 11. So many talking points about Rohit Sharma.
Yeah. So I think the two are separate. I would separate the two in captaincy and batting. But I believe that they are interrelated. You're playing as a pure batter, and then you don't perform, and you're mainstream. You're supposed to lead from the front, and that definitely affects your captaincy, right? I think it's a different when he's playing short format cricket because clearly Rohit Sharma is predominantly for me has always been a short format batsman, and you can see his captaincy in the shorter format is very different. But the 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 game that he has, there will always be question marks because his batting relies a lot on hand-eye coordination, and age will diminish that, as we know it did. Even the great Sir Viv Richards, they rely on hand-eye coordination, and that will always come into question at some point. With Rohit Sharma, that was the case, I believe. And when the conditions get a little tougher, bowling conditions, favorable bowling conditions, and with against some good bowlers, always will be under question. So for me, I think the you could see the signs of the ball during the New Zealand series. I think could have read through that, but I wouldn't just talk about Rohit Sharma alone. I think there were plenty others.
We cannot end the program without talking about Gautam Gambhir. After the whitewash against New Zealand and now what has happened in the Border Gavaskar Trophy, Indian Test cricket is probably hitting a very low point.
Well,
And now people would say that it is time for the old masters to pass on the baton to the younger generation, the Yashasvis of the world. And three names clearly come right away, right? You have Virat Kohli, you have Rohit Sharma. Uh, these two who have carried Test cricket for India for so many years. Your thoughts on this passing the baton bit for Indian Test cricket? I'm talking about.
see, ultimately, I think there's a superstar culture that everyone has talked about as far as Indian cricket is concerned, Indian sport, Indian anything is concerned for that matter. For me, that's the fundamentals. Ultimately, the game of any sport is about, and we talk about cricket in particular, ultimately it's about scoring runs or taking wickets, right? So it may be so good, but ultimately you need to produce runs or take wickets, which is why we talk about Bumrah. He may be a great bowler, but if he's not taking wickets, that's not good enough. But Bumrah did take wickets, right? So the fundamentals may be good. Siraj, for example, I mean, the fundamentals may be whatever it is, but he's not. He has to take wickets, and he has to, he has to. You look at strike rates. I mean, you look at Bumrah. Why is he considered great, a modern great, and among the greatest bowlers ever? Because of the statistics, right? The 200 wickets at the lowest average ever, right? And you're looking at some of the great bowlers of all time. So ultimately, it boils down to producing runs in the middle and scoring and taking wickets. So you have to conjure a way of doing so. And Kohli was not able to do that. I go back in time. I go back into 2003 and four. I don't know if yes. So I mean, I think there are some fundamentals that one needs to look at. Yes, please.
Uh, the bottom line really is, in my opinion, congratulations to Australia. They have really played exceedingly well and deserve the Border-Gavaskar trophy. On that note, I want to thank Professor Desai for joining me in Baroda for this Cricket 360 podcast. Thank you.